it's Red Snapper, and welcome to the Showgirl's Closet. Happy Pride! June is Pride Month, and I am nude for it. Okay, not entirely nude. I'm wearing nude things because the project I'm going to show you today is sheer. And I think it will look best over nude under things or something that, like a solid color that is meant to make a statement. We'll start with the pattern. I love picking up the vintage style patterns, and Simplicity had this fabulous one, and I bought this from Joann Fabrics before the going out of business sale. They had a pattern sale. I had a flat tire, I had some time to kill, and I think it was like $3 for the pattern. Now, Joann Fabrics is gone, but watch for pattern sales for things that appeal to you. I thought, hey, I could use a nice caftan or muumuu, so let's get this pattern, and then I'll find the right fabric for it. After going to Hawaii, I think that these are just fantastic to have on hand. Even though I don't wear muumuus as often as I would like. They're really great in summer, though, in Texas, because you can wear a tank top and shorts, and then if you have to do something official, or just your underwear, whatever. If you have to do something a little more official, you just throw that on over what you're wearing, and it's pretty fabulous. It looks, you know, like you're put together, like things are intentional, and less like you're a ragamuffin. It's like, I don't want to get dressed today. All right. So this pattern is relatively simple. It's not the most complicated thing, which means it doesn't say it's an easy pattern, but it is relatively easy. So I had to kick it up a notch to make it challenging for myself. I used sheer mesh that has a really fun pattern. And that was the big challenge for me. It was enjoyable to put together, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The seams are not difficult. If I had rickrack, well, and I didn't make something sheer, then this would be a great place to use all of the rickrack. When I was a kid, my mom had so much rickrack, and I thought it was crazy. Like, why all the rickrack? I know, it was the 70s, it was the thing. But this would be why. The rickrack. Hi. Are you ready to cuddle up? I'm about to pick something out of the rack that is sheer and dangles. It seems like the kind of thing you'd want to eat. All right, so this fabric... Hey, that's not a snack. This fabric was on the discount rack at Joann Fabrics. This fabric was on the discount shelf, like the clearance rack at Joann Fabrics before, like, everything was on clearance. It was still at a hefty discount. I think it was $2 a yard. So, of course, I had to get it. And I had to get it. I thought it was just too fabulous to leave behind. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a ridiculous caftan out of this. It's just amazing. Because it was sheer, I had to make smart choices with what would be beneath it. So I didn't want to have like white fabric, bright white fabric underneath. I used a light beige Skin Tone For Me ribbon. Close enough for the tie that goes around the waist so that you get this little cinch in the front. Hello? Hi. Hi, Trouble. They don't have nude, not that I could find at the store at least, nude interfacing. So I did use white here, but it would wind up in the very back, less noticeable. Might be under my hair, depending on how much of a hippie I am at that moment. Less obvious. This had to stay lightweight So I didn't do all of the same kind of finishing that I might do on another garment. I needed it lightweight. I needed it to remain as sheer as possible. So you can see here, this could be a seam that I would top stitch or potentially close it up and serge it, or, you know, I could do the fancy little French seams, folding this under and stitching it on itself, but I didn't want the bulk because that would create some bulk. I also didn't want to trim it too close to the seam, even though, you know, this is a good stretch that is not as likely to fray. So these are pressed open. All of these seams are pressed open, and they are gently pressed open because it is mesh. It is screen printed mesh, and I did not want to melt the fabric, so I used a pressing cloth when I would press open these seams, and I would use the lowest setting possible that I could use with steam. The back here, this is why you have a button stash for this, exactly for this. This was just a random button from my button stash, and it's got the fancy little knot. This is just a series of knots making this buttonhole. This is something that I've used to make belt loops before on jumpsuits. The biggest challenge with this particular outfit is here in the front. And you can see where I've got a little tiny bit of wonkiness. I'm showing it to you, but somebody might not notice it if they just see me. So trying to get this stitched in here was definitely a challenge because of the way they tell you to put it together. It's very bizarre, and you're insetting this, basically this bodice front, but the bodice side goes all the way out here. So this is one piece of fabric that goes to the center seam. So it's like an L. And you have to fit stuff in the L, and that's cool and all, but this, the way it is put in here is bizarre. So it's not as tidy at the bottom as I would like, but it still looks good. Oh, and I had to do a little bit of seam ripping, and because the weave is so tiny and this is stretchy, you can see I've got a tiny little hole right here from the seam ripping. So I was avoiding that as much as I possibly could. All right, so let's put this on. This will be pretty easy because I'm dressed for this. I can live my best Mrs. Roper as a stripper life here. I say it should be pretty easy to put on, but this is me trying to put on clothes. I'm trying to put them on. It is awkward. Okay, so this, and it's long. This tie, as you can see here, that goes along the waist or just below the bust. Get that nice little tie. I just happen to have that in stock in my ribbon storage. Okay, there's all that. Oh, now I've got to button this so it doesn't slide too high. Puppy, I can't wait for you to learn Leave It. Ta-da! I just love it. It would look better potentially if I was wearing something that was more of a V-cut, but it also works with a scoop neck tank top. It would be a great beach cover-up, and it doesn't cover a whole lot up, but it's very fun. You can see it hits around my elbow. Here's the back. You can see where the collar is. I'm lifting my hair like it's long. You can see where the white is with the interfacing, and I didn't really have a great option there unless I wanted to put flesh tone fabric onto the interfacing, and that would add some bulk. That's a choice I could have made, and I opted not to because you're not necessarily going to notice it a whole lot, except I pointed it out. And this button here, this keeps the whole thing from sliding forward so that it doesn't go, and then I've got the center of the bust at my belly button because it's slipping around. But it's fun. It's fabulous. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. I love it. This could be used as a striptease piece on stage, depending on what's beneath it. Like, one could wear something fitted, a corset and stockings. Although corsets and stockings with a 1970s look, I'm not too sure about. Or a Merry Widow could be beneath this. The important thing is that whatever is beneath a sheer garment like this should be fitted. It should be fitted so that it better shows off the silhouette of the body. And this is just fun. Also, I had to hem it a little bit higher. I had to take off part of the bottom because, you know, I'm not tall. But I'm tall in spirit. It was made just right for me. Very simple rolled hem at the bottom. I think this fabric is really fun, and I'm so fortunate to have found it because it's just vibrant. And I dig that. And it's wacky. I guess I could have lined the whole thing with nude fabric, but then you've got the weight. And I don't want weight. I want it to feel as nude as it can be. So there you go. Have you ever made this pattern? Do you have another caftan pattern or muumuu pattern that you think I should explore? Because I am into exploring it. I may not be able to find the same kind of $2 a yard sheer deal, but I am into exploring all sorts of weird things to see how I can be a better sewist, what kind of lessons I can learn, what kind of lessons I can share with you from my experience. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please be sure to like, subscribe, boop that bell for notifications. Many, many thanks to my patrons for so many years. I appreciate you so much. And you'll see me next time.